These are 10 upcoming games that are being developed right now that could change up the gaming landscape as we know it. We have every genre here, from MMOs to fighting games, MOBAs, and anything in between. So let's break it all down and find out what games you should be looking forward to for the foreseeable future. The first game on our list is X-Defiant, a class-based arena shooter that is created by Ubisoft. Now, this free-to-play game features fast time to kill, snappy combat with good movement, characters that have a distinct array of abilities and ultimates, and it kind of reminds me of a combination of Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, and maybe a little Overwatch. The gunplay looks really good, and honestly, I think that's one of the most important things to nail with a game like this. It's obviously Call of Duty inspired, and I do think that this is going to be a safe haven for a lot of people looking for a break from Call of Duty titles, either due to frustration or fatigue. Now, I don't think this is a Call of Duty killer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think it does have potential to be a pretty fun game to play. The only thing I'm really worried about with this game is the live service aspect of it. They have promised that this will never be pay to win, and it's going to be a full free-to-play experience, but with this being Ubisoft, I'm definitely going to have to see it to believe it before I'm fully on board. Regardless, this game looks like it has a lot of potential, and it's releasing in August, and it's free to play, so you have no excuse to at least try it out once or twice. Now, next up is a game that's much further out, Ashes of Creation, an MMO that I think has crazy potential. Ashes is the most ambitious MMO game that I've seen. It might be one of the most ambitious games, period. With crazy scope in this MMO, sandbox worlds, the ability to discover and change the environment around you that has lasting effects for everyone that plays in your world, complex guild, city, and economy systems, a diverse range of classes and skills that are non-combat related but still valuable to the world's economy, an interesting take on PvP with morality systems and the ability to pick the way that you want to fight and play, huge bosses and boss battles that look freaking visually gorgeous, and the game as a whole is just a stack on stack of features. I mean, I could just go on and on about only Ashes of Creation. This game is like the MMO to trump all MMOs, and the scope is just massive here. Now, I do have two problems with this game currently. Number one, I do think that the scope is almost too massive. It feels very Star Citizen-esque, where we don't really know how long this game will be in development, and that's my second problem, is we have no idea when this game will fully release. There was an alpha not too long ago, and the game looks really good, but who knows how long it will take for this game to be fully ready to full launch, and that could even be a year out or longer. Regardless, I think if this game even delivers on a fraction of its promises, it could be the next big game, even outside of the MMO genre, and could expand the genre as a whole. Now, the next game is one that's rather creepy, but kind of insane, and it's called Unrecord. It's a realistic shooter game that literally looks like a movie. I think this game will have huge implications for the future of realistic shooters and VR as a whole. It's actually so crazy that I sometimes feel like this is a big joke because of how realistic it is. You have to look very closely to see any of the problems with the footage, and it's actually crazy just what they were able to create here. There's been some controversy around this game being perhaps too realistic, that distinguishing it from reality can be a bit difficult, and I do think that that's crazy that that's actually a controversy that is being brought up, and it really is a testament to how realistic this game truly looks. I think when this game releases, it's going to be an absolute marvel, pushing the boundaries of what we know is possible, and I do imagine based on the success or failures of this game, we'll see many other games incorporating similar styles and similar graphics into their other shooters, and I'm excited to see the possibilities because I haven't been blown away like this in quite a while by the technical marvel of games that are coming out. Now, the next game is Project L, and this is a fighting game that is being developed by Riot Games. Now, when Riot creates something, you should pay attention because all their games blow up to be massive successes. I don't think Project L is going to be any different, incorporating many of the characters that are in League of Legends and the Riot Games universe and putting them in a 2D fighter. This is another establishment in the Riot Games conquest of every single genre, where they bring every single person, regardless of the games you're into their fold of games that you can play, whether it's a shooter, a fighting game, a MOBA, a tactic game, or anything in between. I also know that Riot has a keen eye on esports in a way that many other studios do not. This means that there will be big tournaments with large prize pools and established tournament circuits for all the players that are participating in Project L, and that's a huge deal for players that are really all about fighting games. Right now, every fighting game has its own community, and they're fragmented, with various tournaments popping up based on the release of games, but lack of consistency consistency in the esports scene for most of them. Riot has the opportunity of bringing all these games under their existing umbrella and boosting the fighting game esports ecosystem, and I think it could be a really big deal for fighting gamers all around. Now, while we don't have a definitive release date for this game, I do think it's going to be a game you're going to want to keep an eye on because it's bound to be successful based on Riot's track record alone. Now, the next game is a shooter that's coming out very soon, a sequel to a game that you've probably never heard of before, Counter-Strike 2. Valve finally came back with the milk and updated Counter-Strike for the first time in over 10 years. While the game is still very similar to how Counter-Strike used to be, I think there's a couple of things that are going to push it over the edge. New game engine, better tick rates, which is a really big deal, really updated maps, the new smoke feature, new loadouts. There's a lot of things that are minor tweaks, but really impactful, especially to a game that hasn't had any quality of life upgrades in so long. Really what Counter-Strike 2 is trying to do is preserve the core gameplay loop that has been popular since the dawn of freaking time, but give it a much needed revitalization and polish to some of the core gameplay features and structures that have obviously aged quite a bit. In addition to that, many new players are going to join the fold for the first time, and I do think that with the popularity of Valorant, there's a new generation of gamers that are looking for a game that's similar to try and move to, and Counter-Strike is making that an easy choice for a lot of people. This is definitely going to be a massive release, no doubt about it, and if you ever thought about playing Counter-Strike, now might be your only opportunity to join, where there's a lot of noobs just like yourself joining for the first time as well. Now, the next game we got to talk about is Starfield, created by Bethesda Studios, their first new IP in over 25 years. Now, it's been described by the director as, quote, Skyrim in space. The ability to explore new worlds and planets, fly through ships, and there's 1,000+ different worlds to explore. The scope of this game is crazy. It's an action-adventure quest where you just get to explore the vast deepness of space, and it looks visually stunning and really insane. You actually get the option to swap between first and third person, travel to distant planets, gathering resources, fulfilling quests, crafting materials, and fighting enemies. I do think this is a perfect progression for Bethesda. They've done post-apocalyptic wastelands, fantasy, magic, and dragons, but now space is the final frontier. Now, this game, of course, looks incredible, but once again, I'm a little bit concerned about the delivery of the game. Oftentimes, when a game has this many features, it feels like it will just simply fail to deliver them, and I think a lot of us are really jaded by No Man's Sky and Star Citizen. Not entirely the most fair to doubt Bethesda compared to those other studios, but once again, we're gonna have to wait until this game full releases to see just what it delivers on and what it doesn't. Now, the next game we gotta talk about is a first-person shooter where everything can be destroyed, The Finals. This is a team-based shooter where players set up in teams of 3 across a map with multiple teams, and there's gonna be characters with different abilities, there's gonna be certain objectives that you can fulfill, and everything in the entire map is destructible. Your team is hiding on the second floor of a building. Well, a team could take the entire building down if they wanted to. Fights can become incredibly complex where you can find ways in order to flank the enemy by going straight through a building, up a floor, or take down the whole damn thing. I think the combination between the crispy gunplay and the diverse abilities and weapons make for a really chaotic and fun experience. Now, I do think this game is going to be a blast to play with friends, but I'm a little bit unsure about the competitive integrity of a game like this. Seems incredibly hard to balance when there's so many crazy abilities and crazy weapons all around. Not to mention, because there's additional teams, I think third partying could be a big issue, and on top of that, I feel like the fights could get crazy chaotic where buildings are being destroyed, abilities are being used, and the fights just turn into like a mob of people. This is a game that I feel like looks like a ton of fun, but I hope they don't go too hard at pushing the esports side of things because I don't feel like that plays into the game's strong suit. But regardless, with a couple of buddies, I feel like you would have an absolute blast playing this game on a random weekend. Now, the next game we got to talk about is another fighting game, Mortal Kombat 1. We're being reintroduced to the franchise with a soft reset that comes based on the events of the last Mortal Kombat. The trailer for this game went viral as an absolute visceral treat, and it was insane to watch. And I do think that this is going to be a great addition to bring people into the fold that never played Mortal Kombat before, while at the same time appealing to long-term grinders and fans of this game. This game will feature cameo fighters, new crisp animations that have Mortal Kombat looking better than ever, and a whole new storyline. If you're still not sold, I would definitely suggest after this video to go check out the trailer for yourself, watch some gameplay of it, and I think you'll walk away feeling like this is a game that you gotta try when it comes out. The next up is a game that I think has a crazy amount of potential because it's being created by Bungie, and it's a revisited IP called Marathon. This is an extraction shooter with PvPvE elements, player versus environment, and the game looks like a fusion of Halo, Destiny, and maybe a little Hunt or Tarkov. I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of extraction shooters for the mainstream is that they come across as slow. But if Halo's anything to base it on, I don't imagine that this game will feel slow at all. In fact, I feel like this is going to be one of the first fast-paced extraction shooters. In addition to that, this is a huge AAA studio actually giving their all to an extraction shooter, and it's one of the first ones. And as I said in a previous video, I think this genre has huge room for crazy innovation in the first-person shooting genre as a whole, especially when you have that AAA budget backing the game. Now, there's some interesting features they've already disclosed. The ability for players to discover areas on the map that get exposed for everyone that plays the game, so you can be like a world's first, some of the stuff that we see in Destiny. And in addition to that, there's going to be a scoreboard that is universal, that has players with high kill count accomplish certain things that other players haven't. Think of it like a public Guinness World Records for Marathon that gives you flexing opportunities and something to grind for. This game is super ambitious, but if it's Bungie, I do think that they can deliver, but I'll reserve my full judgment until gameplay actually releases. But let me know how you feel about Marathon in the comments down below. Now, the last game we got to talk about has the greatest potential out of any game on this list. Imagine you're a team of developers from across games, ranging from Halo to Valorant to League of Legends and more, and you want to make a brand new take on the MOBA genre by combining it into an amalgamation of a MOBA, a class-based shooter, a fighting game, and more. This is where we're going to introduce the second Project L in the video, or Project Loki, a game being developed by a brand new studio made by many of the top talents in the gaming industry. Now, there's actually a limit to what I can say here because I signed an NDA because I got to test the game early, and I'm just going to flat out say it, the potential for this game is crazy. If you're not a fan of MOBAs, don't disregard this game. This game plays a lot like Overwatch, Smash Bros, and League of Legends fused, and I know that that sounds weird, but really, this game is unlike anything I've ever played. I fully believe that this could be the next big game. That's how much potential it has, and really, it could spawn other games in this genre, and that's crazy. It's like defining a new genre all by itself. Now, as soon as I'm released from NDA, of course, I'll break down a lot more information about this game, but it's definitely one to keep your eye on, and if you want to sign up for the beta, you can. Just go to their Twitter and you can sign up. I'll put the link in the description down below. Definitely get on these alpha tests because they're freaking sick. But these are the 10 games that I think have the most potential to have a huge impact in the gaming industry. But let me know if there's any games that you think I missed in the comments down below, and subscribe to me if you enjoy the content. Thank you for coming by, and I'll see you next time.